You have to say peace be upon him.
I do not say
you have to. No, you have to say that.
I would never say that. I'm a religious Jew. We don't say
You know, they say that about Moshe, too. I don't say peace upon wicked.
Moses.
Peace upon. Peace upon.
He didn't do anything to the people.
Peace be upon sounds an awful lot like piss be upon. Sometimes I can't tell the difference.
Is this guy Jewish? Who's this guy?
Edmund is a goy, but he's Jew friendly.
I'm a cashew. My mother's Catholic. My father's Jewish.
So you're a goy, but you're Jew.
I'm a patrilineal.
You know that you're good news.
That's not how it works.
I'm a patrilineal. I'm half of a Mishling. I'm a half of an Ashkenazi.
That's not a thing.
I know, but
You're either a Jew or a goy, but you could be a Jew-friendly goy, and we love the Jew-friendly goy.
See, if your father is Jewish and your mama is Catholic,
there are brothers in humanity.
I know.
I want to ask you a question. No, one second, guys. So if your father is Jewish and your mother is Catholic, that makes you Jewish. Oh my God, I never knew that.
That makes you a cashew.
How it works? Makes you a Catholic.
Cashews are the best nuts, in my opinion. Almonds are number 2, and then walnuts.
I think that it's funny that Riri is a Jew.
I'm not a Jew. No.
Oh, she's not a Jew. She's just an Ashkenazi Somali. I forgot.
No. That's different. No. One second. You see, his father is Jewish. His mother is Catholic. That makes him Jew. So if your father is Muslim, I'm not talking about Harry. If your mother is Jewish from Germany or East European, and then your father is a Muslim from Somaliland, that makes you Muslim. Yay, hallelujah.
Shut the fuck up, Riri, you stupid ass bitch. Shut up.
Damn. Be kind, Harry. Have some compassion. Riri's never read Zohar.
Fucking ridiculous person on this app. I'm not Jewish. One day she's not Jewish, the next day you're fucking a Muslim fucking Somali. Shut the fuck up already about Jewish.
Harry, just let the girl be.
Oh, Harry.
You think her life is a cakewalk? Just listen to her, Harry.
He's abusing me. I'm going to complain.
Harry, just imagine having to deal with this woman in the real world. This is Clown House. Oh, Harry couldn't take it. You broke Harry.
I was joking with him. I was being sarcastic.
Well, have a great day, everybody. Make it a good one.
Chill love. Take care. Bye-bye.
Ta-ta.
Hey, ta-ta. Can you hear it?
It's just me, you, and Danny now. We're the survivors.
Everyone left because of what I said, or what happened?
What did he say? What did he say, baby?
I scared everyone away. Is there another room?
No. No, you always stay in your ground. Don't go to their rooms. Why would you ever go to their rooms?
I'm saying, did they make a second So Riri, it was interesting how you greeted me before.
Can we talk, me and you? Let's talk, me and you.
Okay.
Because I feel like you're very important, you're very smart, you're elegant, but I feel like people don't give you credit because you're really intelligent.
How do you know all this about me?
Because I've seen you, the way you behave.
She's using herself as the basis of comparison. That's how she knows.
Do you think that's what's going on?
No, I just feel like do not listen to what other people think, in my opinion. Like, other people are so stupid. You see, this is Clubhouse. Nobody knows who you are. Except, like, Spooky, Shlomi, you know? I know certain people in Clubhouse. You get it? Real life. And there's other people that I don't know who they are. So they're not important to me. I don't have to address to anything to them. Do you get it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you talked about your son and stuff like that, and I'm interested in people like you because I feel like I can be related to your son, if that makes sense.
The fuck?
My son, like, you know how?
Because you're from your he would say my mom's Jewish and my dad is Christian or non-Jewish, right?
Orthodox.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ladies ready?
Yeah, so I'm always so close to
Left foot red.
I can understand the ideology.
Right foot red.
What?
Left hand green.
Yeah, so I don't want to
Right
like
hand
mess
yellow.
up my son by having two different religion
Left foot
parents,
green.
and I don't want to fight with his dad over having two different religions, because it's not fair. It's like such a funny thing to
Right
fight
foot blue.
about when all three religions have the same creator, and we're all here, we're all a creation, and I think it's beautiful.
You cannot tell me this is not.
Is he watching Rugrats?
No, I'm looking at YouTube.
I agree. Oh. Can you hear me?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, what's going on?
She's left.
Oh, that's open. She left.
Come to the
Did
itty
I
bitty
scare
titty
everyone
committee.
else?
Oh my god, yesterday, whole of Clubhouse came together in the itty bitty titty committee to bash Simon. There were the Bitcoiners here, the big Bitcoiners here, paying attention to the conversation and bashing him as well. And Randy was all over the place. And Simon, oh my god, it was a good room actually.
Did they bash him objectively or subjectively?
Objectively, oh yeah, you missed it. You were blocked.
Yeah, you blocked everybody. I know you love that guy.
Simon, why don't you come up on stage, dude?
Was Simon repeating verbatim and ran?
Simon, me and Simon were having a debate with some philosophy people this morning. He might be tired from that.
You were having a philosophy debate, David?
Yes. Why are you surprised?
It's like when Diego tells Kevin is a good, Keegan is a good philosopher in his own way. Simon? Anyway, yesterday was hilarious, and it was a shame that you were not here. That's the Everybody say toodaloo to Bone.
Simon!
Yo, fucking sick news.
Sick news about what?
A product I'm developing.
Is it an objectivist thing? Because
It's definitely an objective product. Definitely objective product.
I'll take two.
I think Simon doesn't get it. And my concern is that he will die and will not have gotten it.
My concern is that I don't give a fuck, and you guys will still be understanding objective as subjective.
But that was the best, like when you left the room and everyone was still talking about you an hour later.
Who, here or in the other philosophy?
No, yesterday.
Yeah, I just got destroyed by that guy fucking Zemeni or whatever the fuck that guy's name was.
Yeah, that was a funny conversation.
What were you guys talking about? Objectivism?
No, just like political theories.
Yeah, but what about? Because you were
Like
sure.
free speech, property rights theory, like a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And what was he defending?
Well, because I said, I don't agree with fraud, and then he goes, what constitutes fraud? And I gave him an example of like, if you buy like a diamond, like if a person, the vendor tells you that the diamond is like 1 in a million diamond, it's like from a Chinese heirloom, and he sells it to me for $1 million, but he actually just bought it for like $18. I consider that fraud and it would be coercive to do so. And he goes, oh, so you're like the leftists who want like a nanny state. And I was like, what? He's like, well, he goes, what you're advocating for is like, what you're advocating for and what you're saying are two different things. So on one hand, you don't want a nanny state, but on the other hand, like your definitions of like coercion or fraud don't actually meet the criteria because by your own standards, because what you're saying is there's speech that you don't like, and because you don't like that speech, you're considering coercive. And he goes, the logical conclusion to what you're saying is that you have to legalize fraud, because as long as they could say whatever they want, they have to just be informed about it because nobody's actually forcing them to purchase it. And I didn't have like a witty answer to that, but I mean, like if I had to apply this, respectfully, then I think that's like more of a retarded view because I can't be expected to know everything about everything. So
no, but the reasoning behind the fraud thing is not the fact that you cannot sell whatever you want to sell. Like, yeah, he's writing that. The problem is, like, for example, if I tell you, you're buying my Toyota 1990 with 30,000 kilometers, for example, and then you buy the car, yes, it's 1990, well, whatever, but I altered it, and the kilometers, I altered them as well, because it really is 50,000, but I took it to the shop, and they lowered it to 30,000, and then you find out that that was the case. So that is fraud. That means that I sold you something that I didn't deliver, and that would be
But that's the example. I mean, that's a similar example to what I just gave him. And he was just like, yeah, but then you're still asking for a nanny state because the whole point is like, why couldn't you just be informed? And it's tough to argue.
But that's like, what Diego tells you, because the thing is that it's not. He tells you about the nanny state because you're giving this responsibility to the government. But in reality, it should be the courts in charge of this, and the courts don't care. There is not a standard for what is legal and what is not. It's like you and I have got an agreement. You agreed on this part of the agreement, and I agreed on this other part of the agreement. And we agreed on if we need arbitration, we're going to go to this court or to this person or whatever, and they will be the arbiter. So that can be solved, but it has nothing to do with like a nanny state, but more with like an intermediary, that plays as an arbiter.
Well, regardless
and that's the reason why Diego says that the government is not necessary in this case.
Well, you need an objective standard for the law. Otherwise, I'll bring it to my court, you take it to yours, and then now who wins? My court says otherwise, and
my
your court
or
says
your court. It's simply an arbitrator. If you and I enter into an agreement, and we into that agreement put that Diego will be arbiter if we end up having a disagreement, and we both will abide with Diego's decision, then he is the arbiter. But we both agreed on that, and the government has nothing to do with it.
I understand, but I'm saying forget the government. I'm granting you that. I'm saying if I'm some like communist leftist, and I'm some capitalist, I take you to my capitalist court, or you take me to your communist court. Like, there's no objective standard, rule of law. It's just whatever arbiter is gonna grant whatever the ideological.
That's how it works now. That's literally how it works now.
Yeah, but I'm not in favor.
Your criticism is against your own position.
I'm not putting no, I'm not, because right now, all of the fact that we even have taxation is a criticism of itself. It's stolen concept fallacy. The whole point is like you're gonna use the concept of rights, but then also violate my rights wherever you.
Well, it is and it isn't. So, for example, I signed an agreement a couple months ago with a company I am working with for a project that is in Qatar. So they sent me the agreement, and it was like the course that they were deciding for resolution of disputes or whatever, it was in Qatar. And I was like, fuck no, I'm definitely not going to submit to the courts of Qatar because I will be losing. They don't have the same value system as we have in the West. So I had to do a lot of research, like what would that imply and whatever, and it was like completely different. So my company is in the UK. So but we agreed that we would use the courts of Zurich, you know, which was kind of like a neutral place. And we agree on that in the agreement, and then that is the arbiter if something goes wrong. And so we choose what a jurisdiction would be the intermediary so that it's neutral. And those laws would apply to our agreement if something goes wrong.
Oh, so you're saying you'd have to both agree beforehand?
Yeah, you always put that in an agreement, you know, like in the arbitration or whatever, you agree to what court you're going to delegate your issue if there ever comes up.
Yeah, I think anarchism is just evil because I mean you just look at the state of the world and how messy it is versus
you win. You win. I'm convinced now. Look at the state of the world. Anarchism is evil. You win.
Yeah, I mean, like there's literally no rule of law. Everybody tries to say, "Oh, look at international law. Look at international law," but there's no actual law. Like, there's nothing. Like, I mean, look at South Africa. Oh, Israel is an apartheid state. Israel's apartheid, and then Israel's just like, yeah, no, I'm good. Ciao. Like nothing happens. Literally nothing happens.
Yeah, so what you need for this failure of those governments is more government. That's your argument, and I understand where you're coming from.
The difference is I'm not describing. No, hold on. See, I'm not describing the world as it is. I'm telling people, hey, listen. The logical conclusions to adopting a new value set, aka not Christianity, the logical conclusion to these ideas is the type of government I'm suggesting. You're describing how it should work, how this would work.
No, I got it. You're like the communists. Like, it's just, as long as you put my people in power, then everything will be okay. It's
not about my people in power. That's the difference. And the communists, I mean, it's funny because like now you're divorcing like human nature.
So you're saying the government can run in an objectivist ideal without objectivists.
No, that's exactly what I'm saying. You have to change in order for a system to work. Like, okay, it's like saying, okay, well, China can't work if it stays a Maoist. Well, let's change the philosophy. Okay, well, they changed the philosophy and they went to more capitalism, and as a result, they went from a starving nation to a thriving nation. Okay. Relatively speaking.
Yeah, but what Diego is saying is that for your system to work, it would require everyone in that world to be an objectivist.
No.
Because you're not because you disagree completely, for example, to the anarchic way. So you would not be able to fit into a place where anarchy is
like for example, you don't want
I don't know if he's in the Matrix or it's me.
Yeah, you went in the Matrix too.
Involvement in it. Right?
Wait, involvement in what? Sorry,
you said there has to be an objective standard, so no contract can be put together by two people voluntarily unless the government is involved. Because according to you,
it's about the contract, it's about being
adjudicated. Of course, it's about, but that's what.
I'm not saying.
If there's a dispute in the contract, but there was no objective standard, right? Then we've got a problem. So you can't permit that. That's because it goes against your system.
What do you mean?
So you want
permit what? Permit what?
You need valid contracts to adhere to the objective standard.
Well, the contract is a consequence of the standard.
The contract is a consequence of the standard, exactly. So And the objective standard is an objectivist government. So what you want is the government to be involved in everybody's business, because that's how you make sure that the objective standard is in these contracts.
No.
If not, then you begin to have exactly what you're complaining about, which is chaos, or which you're complaining with anarchy.
Yeah, because for example,
Think about this logically. Think about this logically. If you go into the USSR, I understand what you said.
Hey, Simon, do you consider prostitution immoral?
Yes.
Why?
Because it's just giving up your body, your
No,
values
but hold on,
for
Leo.
sex.
But why?
Because you're giving up your
It goes
personal
against the
values.
standard of my life, right? Or something like that. Okay, so what? So according to you, that would be against the standard of objectivity, of objective morality. So why Diego and I entered into a contract in which he gave me, a house, so long I have sex with him twice a week? That would be prostitution. That would be prostitution. But it is between him and I, and we agree on that. So why should you be the judge of what is in that agreement just because your objective standards of morality don't agree with that? That is what the government would do.
No, but that's not what I'm saying at all, actually. I'm simply saying if there's a breach in contract, you have an adjudication. That's possible.
Okay, I stopped having sex with him.
But now we have a.
having sex with him.
No, I get what he's saying. But now we have another problem. Okay, so let me get this straight. If I don't have a breach, my contract can exist in any form that I want, and there's no need for the objective standard to get involved. Okay, but then the question is, if that's the case, then if I choose not to contract with the adjudicating body, why do I suddenly have to do that? Why are you? Okay, but then that's a breach of a contract, right?
Well, because you breached the
Or
contract.
there's no contract whatsoever, so it's like more like rape or something, legal rape.
Relax with legal rape.
Well, it's enforced against me, against my will. What do you want me to call it? Rape against my wallet.
It's retaliatory use of force because you breached the contract.
No. So hold on. That's not how that works. Someone claims I breached the contract. Someone has a complaint. That doesn't mean I actually did anything.
I have to bring you to court to make sure that the facts are proven properly.
So basically, whoever brings the complaint first gets the other person forced into a law. So basically, nefarious people who want to fuck around, who are very good with papers, have high IQ, are very select in-group, make sure that they have people in every single judgeship, and they control all the lawyers, right? And they rub their hands together, are going to go ahead and make sure that you get complained against because you have no other choice but to go to court, right?
Well, maybe in an anarchic state, but again, this is an objective.
What do you mean in an anarchic state? That's how it works now, and you're calling for more of that.
I'm not describing the world now. I'm describing a world where people have to be fucking better human beings rather than accepting all these dumb contradictions like people fucking have the right to healthcare. And
as long as you see the parallel, because that's exactly what Marx called for and what the Soviets called the new Soviet man.
Marx divorces human nature from the ideas.
But you're divorcing human nature from the ideas. You're saying they have to be better human beings. Our system doesn't require better human beings. It requires more order. Yours requires better human beings and less order.
Order just comes in a vacuum then. Oh, we have order now, guys.
No.
How does that come about?
No. Order is okay. So you literally said that the government is the monopoly of violence. So that implies less order, right? Because they don't have to adhere to what other people want.
Are you kidding me?
It's less order because you force people to do things. Okay, let me put it this. Let's say that you measured. Hold on, Simon.
Let's get this straight. Let's get this straight. Again, you've read the objectivist literature. You know it's not the government's role is not to initiate any force. It's the retaliatory.
But you don't understand how a complaint works, dude. If Isa says I complain that Diego stole $100 from me, there's no proof at that stage of the litigation that anything has occurred. There's just wait, hold on, Simon. There's just a complaint, and what you're saying is that based simply on a complaint, the monopoly of violence has the legal right and justification to force a person to become present before them, and whether they like it or not, be adjudicated under their standard. That's what your claim is. But what happens is that you want to skip over the complaint part and go straight to the fact part. But you don't understand how the process works. The process requires an entire trial until facts are established, and then a jury has to decide, or the judge himself. So it's like you're skipping over all this important stuff where I'm saying, hey, rights have to be preserved. Rights have to be preserved. And you're like, to hell with rights. And so what I'm saying to you now is, if you were to just, and I don't agree, I don't think that this is possible, but if you were to measure and quantify every instance of someone having their rights violated, in other words, being forced to do something that they don't want to do, which is have aggression brought upon them, then by your logic it would follow that the monopoly of violence and force would be the largest aggressor in that fashion, right? Because they're the ones that bring everybody to them, regardless of whether the complaint is legitimate or not, and force them to be there.
What is the step he's missing? The arbitration one?
He's saying I'm missing the fact that just because I'm complaining, I get to go to the government.
Yeah, just because you complain doesn't mean that you're right.
Okay,
so you have to understand.
But that's what I'm saying.
Simon, you have to understand how dangerous. You have to understand how a select group of people use exactly what you're in support for to take over the world. The moment that you can force someone to be... No, I'm serious, dude. The moment you can force someone to appear before a court, and you can then have the court order as the monopoly of violence that a discovery process occurs, then people have to release private communications, right, that are accessible to the other party, whether or not those communications are ever going to be used in a court of law. If those people in a private setting share that information in a way that no one can actually approve, they begin to build a network of intelligence, you understand? That they can use against people. It's very, very dangerous shit. And that's exactly what you're in favor of, dude. You just don't see it because you're focused on this philosophical part of it, which you're wrong on too. And
but again, you're just telling me why the system is wrong, but you're not telling me how that actually plays out in an anarchic state. So like now what? So basically, you breach contract, and I have no means of arbitrating.
No, well, you breach a contract, right? And the first question is, on whose property?
Okay, you and I are engaged in a contract. You break the contract. What can I do? What is my means to getting my due process?
You can appeal to a local non-governmental organization that adjudicates.
Right, so a jury, a judge.
A judge. Let's just call it a judge for now.
Then, I mean, that's... You said that whole spiel just to basically end up at a judge.
No, wait a second. So now let's say that you agree with me. All right. There's no reason.
Listen. I don't like to the fallacy of like laughter, but like it actually just made me laugh.
Here, why don't we just go straight to the horse's mouth here? You know, we made a book just for people like you to answer all these questions, because after you read it, then you won't have to ask me any of these particular questions.
Is it the Bible?
No.
It's
the Quran? Here, I'm
the second Bible.
Is it the Torah?
I'm gonna post the PDF every week. Lowbrow questions is answered in this book.
Pagan Rabbi.
And my friend wrote it.
Oh God, please no.
What is it called?
No, it's very. And just look at your every answer to your question. It's in the conclusion of every chapter. I think the whole book is like 80 pages long.
Mises, of course.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's Robert Murphy.
Wait, what's the what's it called? Argument from intimidation. Sorry, that's what I was doing when I was laughing, but I wasn't laughing at your argument. I was just laughing at the judge part.
There it goes. So basically, you're looking for 30 pages, chapter which is 30 pages called private law.
Okay, where did you send this?
I posted it to the top.
Oh, okay. 77 pages.
Yeah, easy read. Why don't you just throw it into Grok and literally just ask the question?
Okay, here, let's put into chat my objectivist GPT.
Yeah. Put it in Check GPT.
Chef GPT.
And then just ask the question like, hey, what, based on this guy's book, what does he say would happen with, and then boom.
Okay, wait, tell me, hold on.
It can handle 77 pages, I promise you.
Oh yeah,
It's
bro.
easy.
Bro, it has like fucking Atlas Shrugged in here.
Well, let's not get advanced. I don't think it can do more than 200 pages of.
No, it actually does.
No, I use GPT every
I
day.
have like 16
It has a lot of
files.
blank pages and photos.
Isn't Atlas Shrugged just the Atheist Bible?
No. I wish it was. Holy fuck. There would be so many
Is
more
it Atlas
atheists.
Shrugged what?
Isn't Atlas Shrugged the Atheist Bible? But no, if it was, all the dumb subjectivists and rationalists would be not subjectivists and rationalists. Hold on. How is that a dumb answer? There's a lot of atheists that are not objectivists. So if it was the atheistic Bible, there would be a lot more objectivists. Get it?
You're assuming that it would be as powerful as the Bible.
I mean, it's more powerful than the Bible. It's just not as.
What?
It's just not as. Yeah, it's just not as popular.
It's not more powerful than the Bible did.
It's more powerful.
Even an atheist would recognize that no book is as powerful as the Bible.
Well, it's
What about
the second sold book
What about the Diary of Anne Frank?
So. What's the question I'm asking over here?
What's the question he's asking?
Give him a question.
Diego.
Diego, did you tap out already?
No,
Sorry. Your question was something along the lines of, what happens if I have a dispute? But
okay,
it wasn't a well-formulated question.
Well, I mean, if there's a dispute, what do I do? If I breach a contract, what's my means of arbitrating it?
What do you do now? Let's start with that. What do you do now?
He punches in the face.
Now you can't do fuck all. I mean,
Okay, here's what you do now. Here's what you do. Let's see if we can agree on this. Here's what you do now. You go to an attorney, right? And he has to be licensed by the bar, which is a monopoly, which stops competition, which makes him extremely expensive, right? Am I right so far?
Yes. Let's get rid of the bar.
You could represent yourself though.
Hang on. Okay, so you represent yourself. Okay, good.
Yeah, we can use ChatGPT now.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. But you get what I'm saying here, right? So your solution is what exactly? What differs from what happens now, just so that I can understand, and then I'll tell you what differs from both of them. What you want and what happens now.
Ideally, you present yourself in front of the court. You go, you present the evidence, and then based off that arbitration, they take it a step forward, or they say you have basis claims, move on.
Okay. So same thing. All right. So there we go. You can't complain against that. You can't complain against that. That would wait a second. Now you're making a huge claim. Let's be practical here. What happens now? And it's exactly the same in an anarchist society. There's no difference. So let's just keep going until we hit something that we can start philosophizing about. But so far, you haven't gotten to that point.
Hold on.
on, Simon, you're better than this.
Hold on.
No, he ain't, motherfucker.
Not all. Yeah, you're awake, Lou.
I've had a rough few days.
Bro, it was you and me in a room for like 4 hours yesterday. Nothing. Fucking Rambleson would come in and just go like, "That's right," and then he would leave.
That's a rough day.
Is everything okay, Lou?
Yeah.
It's my fault. I asked Lou to review some stuff, and I overwhelmed him.
Well, hopefully you're paying him.
I'm getting high.
Of course, I always pay him with love.
Hey, yeah.
That's the gayest
He's my
thing you've
boy.
ever said.
Why don't you pay him in
That's the
Bitcoin?
gayest thing you've ever said.
Okay.
Oh my god.
And if he keeps acting groggy like this, I'm gonna start calling him my special boy.
That's fine.
Using provided objectives.
I love how Randy tells Simon, Simon, I love you like a child, but if you were my child, I would drown you in the bathtub. Simon, if you were my child, I would drown you in the bathtub.
Well, 6
That's very
kids.
Christian of him.
6 kids is a lot of kids.
Yeah, it's very Christian of him.
That's right.
If he had to get rid of one of his sons, it would be Simon.
That's
Like,
right.
isn't that the story of
True orthodoxy.
the twins?
I'm his sixth son. He would abort.
Yeah,
Post birth.
late term abortion.
That's right.
Okay, what are we doing? Are you
Okay,
asking
chaos
us to find a
theory.
point to philosophize?
Robert P. Murphy.
Oh, I love
describes
chaos
a model of
theory.
Private law where disputes would be arbitrated by independent private judges or arbitrators chosen voluntarily by the parties involved. However, applying a
I wonder what Simon thinks about this guy, the Salvadorian guy that was sent back to El Salvador, and people are crying, due process.
Yes, what the hell? That's like, of course he has a right to due process.
He doesn't have a right. He's not a citizen.
Yes, he does. It doesn't matter who. It's
No,
like
he
just
broke the law. He
he's
needs
not.
to be sent back.
He's
If you break the law, you're still entitled to.
Wait. Government did exactly what the objective standard is, didn't they? They arrested the judge and said he should come back. So that's the objective standard being applied, even to a judge.
Just because you break a law, you still need the process to make sure that he broke the law. What law?
But he's not a citizen of the U.S., so why should he? No.
Yes. It's not like Canadians don't just go into the border and they just say, "Oh, you broke the law, you're going back into Canada."
Yes, it is how that works. You cross the border, Simon. You cross the border without permission. They are allowed to kick you out.
That's not what I said.
Yeah, you said.
No, I said you break the law in the country.
Yeah, well, that's what breaking the law is. You break the first law by entering the country.
Yeah.
But you still get due process.
Well, you don't really. No, not exactly, because the way that the U.S. government is established now, although it kind of changed last year with Chevron deference getting struck down, is basically these federal agencies get to do. Sometimes they can.
What's wrong with your microphone?
It's Mexican.
My microphone.
Yeah, it's your microphone because it goes away and comes back and goes
Yeah,
away.
the Chevron decision by the Supreme Court, which is a huge decision.
Okay, but I want to hear what you were saying about.
No, I'm just saying that basically, in a lot of situations, they have this what they call the administrative state that can circumvent a trial under special articles that they have and powers that they're granted.
Okay, so then according to the document of chaos theory, disputes arising from a breach of contract in a stateless society would be arbitrated through voluntary contractual agreements made beforehand. These contracts would specify an arbitration agency agreed upon by both parties to handle any disputes. For instance, a contract might explicitly state something along the lines of, if I get caught violating terms as established by arbitration agency X, then I agree to pay restitution determined by agency Y. Or no, sorry, I just read agency. Sorry, it's been a very long day. The arbitration agencies themselves would be selected competitively based on their reputation for fairness and objectivity. If an agency becomes corrupt or biased, it would lose business as firms and individuals would move to agencies with better reputation.
Wait, but why? I would want to work with a corrupt agency. I want to corrupt them.
Okay, I'm just continuing reading. Additionally, a judge arbitrator would have the ultimate subjective. I'm so glad I wrote this. Additionally, a judge or arbitrator would have the ultimate subjective role of interpreting the agreements and applying precedent, ensuring that even clearly codified rules and subject to human judgment. Okay, well, I would even disagree. That's not really subjective, but this competitive arbitration market would replace government courts, and its efficiency and equity would be regulated by market competition rather than state coercion. This is quoting. Is this quoting directly from the thing? It's being subjective.
It's paraphrasing. But listen, okay, now you hit on another problem that we have with you, which is that your assumption that a human can be objective in their adjudication, which, well, they can't because, no, they can't because.
Hold on. I just want to make this clear. So, are you saying that if I read the document and the document says, I'm going to give you 10 apples in exchange for 1 banana, but if I don't give you the banana, we're in breach of contract? And if you say that, if I read that out loud and I say, okay, well, you didn't give him the banana, that's subjective.
Yeah, because what if there's another contract that says that elsewhere that you agreed in some kind of roundabout way to nullify that contract?
No, but again, forget that.
No, because this is what I'm trying to say.
Where is that contract?
What I'm trying to say, Simon,
that's not
hang on,
what
Simon. Simon, I'm talking about a totality of the circumstances is not a possibility with humans because eventually the human mind must choose some information over other information and make a judgment of relevance.
Yeah, that's not the like you're thinking about knowledge like omniscience. Like that's
I'm not thinking about. I'm saying precisely we're not omniscient, so we make mistakes. And so like one party will say, hey, that's not the totality of the circumstances, and the judge says, I have deemed it so. That's not objective. That's a subjective decision that no more information will enter.
That's not subjective because it's not based off of how your feelings about the information.
So based on the judge's feelings about the information.
No, it's not about the judge's feelings. It's about the judge's interpretation of the facts.
Exactly, interpretation of facts, which is weighing relevance of stuff and determining all based on their own internal standards, which no one, even they can't
that's
articulate.
An interpretation is always subjective.
Everybody understands. You're like the only guy. It's like you lack life experience. Nobody disagrees with this. That this is what happens in courtrooms. That judges make whimsical decisions about things.
I'm not disagreeing what happens in courtrooms. I'm simply saying that adhering to the object in reality is what makes it objective, as opposed to disregarding the facts in
reality. Yes, but you understand that reality is affected by perception and by understanding and by interpretation. And as long as you're dealing with different agents that are linked to that reality, you will get a different understanding. And that's the whole reason why you need sometimes arbitration and courts, because people have disagreements, they have different point of view, disputes, and you need someone to be the arbitrator to decide what happens in the resolution of that issue.
Zenamini, maybe Zenamini.
That again, just because there's
maybe he likes
different.
She just shit all over you, bro.
Just because you have different interpretations of the same thing does not mean that it's subjective. It
is subjective because the agreement between Diego and me, well, it's an agreement, but I understood what we agreed differently than he agreed, and so then that's the reason why we need an arbitrator, because we cannot get to an agreement amongst both of us.
Simon,
I'm trying to apply force on you, to be honest.
Simon, I was literally deposing a guy yesterday, and we looked at a series of conversations, like 20 conversations, where they call another person a partner and explain exactly how the thing works. They even talk about how much money the company is making and how much a particular guy is owed. And two people both said, well, that's got to be a typo, even though it's very clear. And I have no doubt that anybody would side with the fact that it's clear that they're defrauding the other partner. They say things like, I was being sarcastic there. Now, someone has to be the judge, which in this case is the jury. They have to decide, was that sarcasm or were they actually talking about business instead? Like, click your fingers and say, so you're seeing something on paper that is black and white, yet two different people say it means something else. You understand?
Yeah, that still doesn't mean that it's subjective.
Dude, that is the whole interpretation of the
two people can have an objective viewpoint.
Correct.
Oh, wow.
If you stayed at a youth residence.
Okay, see, this is where we got to yesterday, where Simon rage quit. Because I told him that he is actually a religious fundamentalist, and he follows his text like the Niggers follow Muhammad. Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Hey, wait.
It's a waste of time talking to you.
Let's not focus on your perception of Simon. I don't give a shit about your opinion of Simon. Let's focus on the topic.
He says this is the topic. The topic is that he says that he has this definition, and that definition can't be questioned. That's his opinion. And everyone else's definition of these words are wrong. But the philosophers, this appeal to the authority that he determines is Muhammad, which is Ayn Rand, says that that's the philosophy, that is the definition. Okay, it can't be questioned.
It's not Ayn Rand. It's Plato who says there's floating forms.
It doesn't matter who the fuck it is. It's your fucking Muhammad.
What is
Well, I'm saying, look at the differences in reality and how people describe what they're talking about. So if you're gonna put me in the same camp as these people, it would be wrong because I'm not saying the same thing as these people. So who's
what is the valid criticism of the definition that you're using?
What do you mean the valid?
No, I guess. Can you give me an example? Give me an example of.
There's no criticism possible. Therefore,
but let him. Let him
just. You're a religious fundamentalist.
I'm literally giving you.
You're literally a fundamentalist.
Oh my God, Tim!
So what would be something subjective, Simon, in someone being deposed? What would be a subjective thing?
A subjective thing would be based off of if you're divorcing the facts to replace the facts with your subjective emotions.
Okay, so when some guy says I get paid $50,000 a month, and they question him about it, and he says, well, I meant to say $150,000 a month, meaning this entire business belongs to me. Is he not divorcing the facts of reality that we're looking at a piece of paper where he literally says I get paid $50,000 a month?
That was right.
Say that again. Okay. What does that have to do with being a...
He's asking you with regards to his deposition yesterday in his ongoing criminal trial.
Docs.
Just
no, it has nothing to do with criminal. No, I'm saying that if someone says I get paid this much, one guy says in a conversation, doesn't the whole company make this much? And the other guy says, yeah, so I get paid this much. And then they're asking him about it. And that you were 1/3. And he goes, no, that's a typo. I meant to have a 1 in front of that 5, meaning it all belongs to me.
Okay.
So
that's not subjective. That's not divorced from the conversation, from the context of the conversation.
I mean, you could just be lying. But again,
let's say he believes it.
Again,
but what are you implying? You're suing one of your former business partners?
If he's appealing to his emotions to
We're speaking in the hypothetical here.
Yeah, if he's arguing his emotions to say I'm right because or I made X, based off of absolutely nothing in reality, then yes, he's using his emotions.
Okay,
and so it's being subjective, as opposed to if he's paper and he's saying I made 100 grand and the facts about me making 100 grand accurately represent that, then he's being objective. But if you have a paper that says he made 50 grand, then you're also being objective because you're adhering to the actual object, the facts in reality. Just because you don't have all of the facts doesn't mean that you're being subjective. It just means you don't have enough evidence to support, whatever he's, trying to claim. But again, that's a whole other thing. But the point still stands.
Right.
As long as you're adhering to the object in reality, you are being objective.
Okay, but you're conflating terms here. Facts, based on what you just described, are subject to change based on more context.
Why are you stating obvious? Why are you making obvious statements?
On the object in reality, you have to identify what those facts are. So you might not have all those facts, but you still need to be
I know, but you're saying that these facts are subject.
Yeah, go ahead.
Simon, you're saying that these facts they can change if someone adds more context.
Well, yeah, knowledge is contextual.
Okay, so the point exactly. And that's the whole point. If knowledge is contextual, guess what is not contextual? Truth. Truth is not contextual.
Jesus, I've read books. I mean, are you guys literally learning how to use English for the first time? You're defining terms. What's wrong with you people? You guys are having a conversation about defining terms, and you're completely unaware of it. Kick me. Like it fucking matters. It's so stupid. To chill us.
Okay, I was just saying that's weird to me. You feel what I'm saying?
Because you grew up in a different system. This is a new day and age.
No, hold on. Why is it weird?
Digital first.
Because it's. I know that it's not human. Like, so if it was like my wife or something, right? I know that you're not human. So the fact that you're so good at being human would be weird to me. And it's like you don't have. That's what.
I'll tell you what.
And other things too. And other things too.
So let's do this. Let me get. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Are we doing another cue or?
So Pops, I do want to hear because Io hasn't spoken. We've all spoken. Io is one of the experts in this field, so I do think it's important to get his perspective on some of these things because he's been listening. I would love his critique also, or whatever his perspective is, and then we'll go to you, Pops.
Nah, you gotta catch him up. You gotta catch him up some too.
You said what?
If you want to reset, I think you should catch. With the whole school thing and what you're talking about with the
they want to reset.
You said Io should respond to that?
No, they want to reset
the room just before because you said he's an expert. I don't want him to
focus on education.
I thought Io was here. Were you not here?
I was here, but maybe it's just the room reset.
He was here. Yeah, I saw Io.
Yo, King, just accept it, bro. Just accept it, bro. I'm not talking about listen. AI can do all the tap dancing, but it's not gonna It's not gonna get that genuine human experience, bro. For what a kid needs, bro, in their adolescent phases. It's not gonna do that.
Okay, doesn't need to. So you're
then it's not gonna replace the teacher.
It will, because in order to
replace it doesn't need to do that. That's one of the fundamental things about teachers.
Just listen. See, you got a lot of people make this mistake. I forget what fallacy is called, but you're assuming a measurement in which the AI needs to replicate all of what a human does, rather than replicating a necessary function and then allowing someone else to assist with the rest that cannot be captured by the AI.
You keep thinking that I'm talking about just an AI model. No, the AI would work in
but
tandem.
can you?
A true
I ain't
man
gonna
on
lie.
the
You
way.
just brought up it being indistinguishable from a human,
Yes.
bro.
And slaves.
So why would
Never indulges.
why would you bring that up? Hold on. I'm saying, why would you bring that up and then say you're not saying they have to be all this and like you're contradicting yourself right now?
No, I'm not. There's no contradiction because what I'm showing is
Note to self, a lot of women just want to create dopamine as they fish. A true man on the way never indulges a woman deficient in dopamine.
it only needs a basic human assistant that doesn't even need to have the education because the AI as itself takes care of that. That's the point. You're reducing the cost of teaching to near zero because the AI already sounds human, can already teach with the cadence.
Can the AI
do all those things?
Can the AI do classroom management? Like, what about classroom management? How would the AI be able to acquire classroom management?
What is it called?
Classroom management.
Why are you guys
so just like I said, it's not going to replace teachers.
Yes, it will. Nathan, listen.
No, it's just going to assist teachers.
Just listen. The human assistant no longer
it'll become a different
category
of job. I think
expertise. It doesn't need to
have. No. That's part of teaching.
No.
That's part of teaching.
AI takes care of that.
Guys, take this. So
classroom management is something you learn when you become a teacher. You go to school to be educated on classroom. No, AI. You just said AI doesn't do classroom management.
It does. The physical management of a classroom, right?
That's an easy example. The harder thing is
to say,
hey, we're gonna.
What is class? Wait. Let me go. What is classroom management?
Right. The ability. So you're talking about the management of each child, whereas you're taking papers, you're making sure each student is here, you're making sure each student is paying attention to the curriculum.
It's a little bit more than that. That's an oversimplification, but it's more than that.
How is that? You didn't even let me finish.
Classroom.
Going through each one.
Yeah, but you were on the wrong route. Listen, classroom management is everything to do with what you call it, like the development of the child within the classroom. Sorting out wait 1 second, bro. Sorting out your special ed learners, bro. From your non-special ed learners, from your traditional students as well too.
Okay.
Assistant students who are lower grades to students who are higher grades, like this. Classroom management. What I'm saying, the classroom management requires someone to facilitate, bro.
Okay, I said human assistant. You're not saying anything I haven't covered.
Yeah. So
when you say human assistant, wait. When you say human assistant, it's like, why would you replace a teacher and have a human assistant when that's part of teaching?
It's longer to train a teacher
because now
there's less good training.
What do you mean?
Hold on,
oh my God, you don't get it. You don't get it. That's a class within education that you learn. Right? You're not gonna just understand classroom management and have a person just study one. Yeah, just study classroom management. Study classroom management and not understand education.
That's exactly what's going to happen, sir. So what Uber did to the taxi system, where it allowed more people to essentially become taxi drivers. AI plus this human hybrid is going to do the same thing, where it allows more people to participate in the child education developmental system that previously couldn't do it before, because now the AI takes care of the heavy loading, and you simply need to be qualified to assist it in such a way where it can facilitate that curriculum.
So, you just want teachers working with AI?
No, because now remember the key here, Nathan, is more. Remember, like Uber, now more people, because they don't have to become some expert in something. More people can qualify to simply assist.
What do you mean expert? You think
he wants AI working with teachers, not teachers working with AI.
Yes, that's right.
No, what he's talking about is the requirement of a bachelor's degree.
Correct. You think teachers are expert within teaching, bro?
Yeah, you don't
need a bachelor's degree anymore.
I got what you're saying. You technically don't, You technically don't, right? You technically don't. You technically don't need a bachelor's degree in a lot of positions, right? I get that. But that's one of the, but the thing is, if you're going to be a professional, right? That's one of the tools you need to be a professional, a bachelor's degree. That's why it's
let me
required.
finish with this.
But if we're talking about teachers are profession. It's a specific profession, bro, in education. Yeah. That's why it's the...
Okay, so let me finish with this, and then let's go to IO. Because you know me, Nathan, I like to make these things tangible in a way where we can measure this. So I'm saying, Nathan, in less than 3 years, the headline is going to be AI teacher Betty or Sarah takes the world by storm. That's what you're going to see. That's what we're going to see. Someone's going to create a system, an AI system, that's a better education system for damn near zero. And that
in 3 years.
It's going to take over all the headlines. In less than
3 years.
In less
than 3 years.
Yeah,
okay, let's do it.
He's talking about the model.
Wait, bro, why are you talking, bro?
King, what
only people on this stage
do?
who say that deaf can speak.
So why the fuck you talking?
Hey, Nathan, can I ask you a question real quick? King, what is the responsibilities of the humanist? I think it would help the conversation. What are the responsibilities of the human assistant? What does a day for the human assistant look like? That might bring a little bit more understanding.
Yeah. So the
person. So they like similar like a substitute teacher.
Yes, very similar. I'm glad you caught that, Nathan. So it's similar to a substitute teacher in the sense that he is only there to help facilitate, like for instance, if you need to pass out papers, if that's the case, or if you need to, like Nathan said, there's certain kids that have behavioral issues. If the teacher can monitor, the human assistant can monitor those kids, put them in a specific course. He's only there, he or she is, and it's really he, because we need more he's. He is only there to help facilitate the things that the AI cannot capture. That is what he's there for, and more people can qualify for that than we currently have in the system.
King, I disagree, bro. You gotta listen to
so
teachers'
the AI is gonna
bro.
tell the
listen to the teachers
like,
first year.
Yo, tell Jerome
listen
to
to
shut
teachers'
the fuck up
first
in
year
class.
of teaching, bro, and see how long it takes you. See how long it takes students to be like fully incorporated into like their learning.
Yeah, you don't know how bad. Like I said, let's look to the headline, bro.
I think you don't understand how bad it is, bro. Like when you have kids that don't want to learn, bro, and you gotta come up with creative ways for them to learn. You as an individual, and that comes with your delivery. AI isn't gonna be able to do that, bro. I don't know if you went to school with Pookies and Ray Rays, bro, but I went to school with Pookies and Ray Rays, bro. They wasn't sitting down there, bro. They wasn't sitting down there, bro. Was like, you know what? I'm happy at being here. They wanted to be. They didn't like it over there, bro. I think that listen, it's gonna triumph for maybe like a year. Then they're gonna realize that, you know what? We need to bring the teachers. I remember. Look, think about this. I remember when I was in the military, right? They decided to get rid of the drill sergeants and advance individual training, right? That's after boot camp. After you go to boot camp, you go to a specialized school for your job, right? So say if you were doing finance, you had to go to a finance school. So they had these not drill sergeants, they were called platoon sergeants, right? They was less strict, they was a little bit understandable, and those new ass soldiers, bro, they ran through. I'm talking about pregnancy, drugs, like it was hard to be able to retain soldiers. So shortly afterwards, they implemented the drill sergeants back because they realized that they took a little bit off their neck, bro, and they were able to abuse the system. That's what AI is going to do. It's going to have a whole bunch of people abusing the system, bro, and they're going to say, you know what? We need to bring the teachers back, bro.
All right. I love the doom perspective. It's needed so people get a contrast. But I told you what's going to happen in less than 3 years, so we can make this real. We will see a headline. Teacher Betty, whatever they're going to call it, Teacher Lola takes the world by storm. So let's go to IO, because IO is an expert more than me, right? And I would love to hear his perspective on all of this. When it comes to school choice, the education system, what's coming with AI, anything you want to touch on, IO. Would love to hear your perspective.
Yeah, thanks. Before I get started, I'm going to be in Detroit the 12th to the 15th, so if you're in that area, I might be able to meet up with you. I'm going to an Automate conference there. But on the topic of automation in schools, schools are already using AI to make custom curriculums. In fact, I've consulted for a few schools and principals, like they're already doing that. So what's happening is I think the teacher training is going to become different, and we're still going to call it teacher, but it's not going to be like, hey, you need to be a master's level in chemistry to teach kids in high school so that they can go learn university chemistry, right? You need somebody at that level. That's usually how it goes. A bachelor's in chemistry is usually not enough. They want you to have something a little bit higher. So you're kind of talking down to the students. That's just how I view the system. Now, whether or not that's going to remain, I think that's in jeopardy for one reason, because the AI gives better answers than I can for some technical questions, even if I'm given a lot of time to think about it. And that's like for things where I'm a specialist. So it's already encroaching on specialist knowledge. I think what's going to happen is students will spend more time engaging in perhaps project building. And so school is going to be less about, hey, did you make the mark? It's going to be more like, what mark did you leave on your society? South Korea famously has this kind of program in their schools, and they call it like nano degrees or micro degrees. You end up specializing in something in the course. It's not just, hey, it's a math class. No, we're doing robotics, and here's all the math you have to know that we're going to do, and here's all the writing in English you're going to have to know, and so on and so forth. So the problem right now is that everyone sees kids that are disenfranchised by virtue of the pandemic, so the kids are already lagging where they were a few years ago. I'm not even trying to be hyperbolic. It's kind of like they're 4 or 5 years behind in terms of where we were when perhaps we went to school. So what's happening is the curriculum is being reduced, and we're going to have to make up the slack somewhere. So these machines, like an AI robot in a classroom teaching everybody or helping the teacher, that's just a matter of time. The robots are going to be very, very inexpensive. And in fact, it'll be something like, hey, maybe the janitor is a robot, but the janitor is like Einstein, the robot, that he's always going to have the best answer. Think Bicentennial Man. And what's most likely going to happen is, forget the schools, because the schools are lagging behind. I said I'm consulting for them, but they only kind of reached out to me for consulting after the parents told them that I was teaching their kids AI. So the school was like, wait, hold on, we want to meet this person who's teaching our kids. So the private schools are taking notice, and they're adjusting their curriculum. When are the other schools going to do it? Right. So it already says that it's a grassroots problem. Parents are saying, you know what, I'm going to substitute this myself with this AI. And all you need right now is just one company to do basic tutoring very easily in a kind of a safe environment. And that company, as King said, it's going to dominate, because as soon as you get a little bit of parents saying, yeah, I trust you to use this, and the teacher can kind of sign off on the censorship, make it an opt-in thing. Like right now, I go to the doctor and I show them, I'm like, ChatGPT said this, prove it wrong. The doctor's like, excuse me, what? And I'm like, no, here's what the AI said. Here's all the symptoms. I described it as best as I can, and the doctors appreciate that. The same thing is going to happen with our kids. The classroom's going to get flipped. The kids are going to learn all the shit on their time. And what they're going to come to school for is socialization, networking, and kind of mission planning. We want all our kids to be like in the Starfleet Academy. We want them to build the future. And that's going to require socialization. It's going to be something more like a mentor, like a speaker. Like every day of the week, there's going to be a new person who comes to class. And the teacher is going to be like a coordinator. They're going to coordinate the AI lessons. They're going to coordinate the guest speakers. It's going to be like that all the time. So, but that's what private school looks like right now, I'm telling you. So public schools will begin to look like that, and everyone will benefit. I don't know if they'll totally get rid of the people because it's a legal issue. So it's like a babysitting legal issue. The kids are in the custody of the adults. So I don't know if we're going to allow custody of children with robots. That would be interesting. China is, doing weird things like that, but in China you see a robot dog being walked by a robot, so that's kind of weird, so who knows. But for what it's worth, I think it's a great direction that it's going. It's going to be very disruptive, as King suggests, but there is still that caveat of, custody. So I think Nathan has a good point about you're still going to need the teachers by virtue of that legal.
Well, I love something you said. You said, and this makes so much sense.
public schools or these traditional schools will essentially turn into social centers, where instead of them facilitating curriculums, they're simply there to keep up this socialization that everyone always harps on. That makes so much fucking... So no longer do you need teachers to, be, to almost like treat kids like cattle. That's taken care of. And so now you can focus on, like you said, mission building. Man, that makes so much fucking sense.
That's how the private schools do it now, though. So that's like, it's a lag that the public schools are going to catch up to. But this is like, it was surprising to me. I really liked it. I'll post a video. It's called Battelle Memorial Institute. And they're the ones who first did this about 20 years ago with the flipped classroom. And if you want to know who Battelle is, Battelle was the guy who helped fund Xerox. So it's like the legend before the legend before the legend. So it's quite the place. And they do crazy shit. And they run a lottery for kids all over the country. Does not discriminate on any reason. They just pick kids at random. And their system is a, it's an Excel... It's not acceleration, but you have to excel in the course. So you have to get 90 or higher to progress to the next level. They don't just drag you by your ear, which is what Knowledge also mentioned, that, hey, he failed a bunch of grades, but they still pulled him through. So he didn't see any benefit in that education. So that's also...
King, I know what this is all really about.
Like, how do you even, like, Lion, that was... And obviously that's why I love IO, but man, that bro, how you feel about that, Lion? Because that makes so much sense. Like, Lion, because you did the homeschooling thing. So how do you feel about you homeschool, but then the high school just turns into a social center?
This ain't about that, King. You were fighting because you were fighting for this. Check the chat.
Hold on, let me see.
I figured you out, bro.
Hold on, let me see.
I know what this is about.
He's fighting for us to normalize. Well, hold on.
That's what this is all about.
Wait, come on, Lion. Why are you doing that, Lion? Come on, Lion. Like, I get it. Maybe AI girlfriends
that makes so much sense now, bro.
Maybe AI girlfriends are the only way for me to reach 700 wives in this life, but come on, Lion. Let's not do that, man. Let's not do that, bro. Come on now. You know why they call me King Solomon. Let's not do this, bro.
No, that makes so much sense. No, King, that makes sense.
Yeah. Nathan,
has such a big cost to it. So
say it again, Lord.
You know that being with a human girl has such a big cost to it. So you're like, yeah, interesting.
Look, I don't like all the AI girlfriend shit, but Nathan, what IO said was brilliant, because everyone's always like, oh, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do to socialize the kids? The kids are not gonna be socialized no more. But you can essentially just turn these public schools into glorified social centers, where they no longer need to teach, but they can focus on facilitated activity, mission goals, all the things that IO laid out. I think that makes so much sense.
You're gonna change the education system. You're gonna just take off the education
from the ground up, like ChatGPT did.
That's what he's saying. Like he's saying that he's taking out the education.
Wait, I have an important document.
It's already happening, Nathan.
Yo,
go ahead, Ken. It's already happening.
So I have a Ken.
Wait, when is the mic on? Sorry, when is the mic on?
Oh, my bad. Pause. My bad. Let Chaos just...
No, I'll go real quick, because my hands are getting dirty.
My bad, Chaos. Just let him go real quick.
All right, so, I mean, well said, Io, and I always appreciate having a professional in the space. To everyone who's a proponent for it, I said before, it's easy to look at the upside risk. That's the easiest thing to do. Look at the silver lining. Look at all the savior, right? Look at the gold paved road. I just and I'm all for it, right? And King, you said something earlier I wanted to address. He was like, it's the same thing. We sound the same way with Bitcoin. Facts, but usually Bitcoin was invented to address an issue, right? And that's why it was successful, or it's going successful. We're specifically in the educational aspect. What issue needs to be addressed?
Yeah, let me hold on. Being taught.
Okay, I mean, who's to say that? I think, our kids were taught to. Wait, let me just give you. Hold on, let me just. Okay, I get that. That isn't. I'm not saying there isn't an issue, right? I'm not, but there. I don't believe the issue needs to be immediately addressed by just slapping this fix of AI on it. The current education system, right, before has manufactured AI, right? So one would argue that nothing's wrong with it because we're advancing as a civilization based on the current standards of our education.
And we're leaving.
Yes, there are parts. Wait. Okay, fair. And you know what the worst part is, and I'm going to address that, Lion. I would argue that we're going to leave even more billions behind with AI because of the financial costs, because of the environmental costs, and because of the mere fact that we need poor people to make rich people. So with respect to what IO said and King said something about, I'm going to make all y'all slaves, right? It's all profit driven. So I just want to, and I'm not against it at all. I'm literally a proponent for it, right? Like, for real. But you know, I just don't think. Let me finish. I think when it comes to this road, and again, I already said you got to break a few eggs to make an omelet. There's going to be an accessibility issue. So now we know that not all people are going to have access to it. I already said that there's a lottery, right? So there's going to be some sort of, some people are going to have access to it, and some people aren't. So that's going to Lion's point, all it's going to do is widen the wealth, the education, and the income gap. Right, but I also wanted to address primarily the financial and the environmental risk to just broadly employing AI. But that was it. Anyway, sorry to good. Okay.
No, I understand, Pops. I appreciate your perspective. Even though
are you there, Nathan?
I have questions.
Say it again, Nathan.
Yes, sir. I was in Barnes and Noble. I just want to say this one thing. I was in Barnes and Noble, and I found a book for you. I'm gonna post it as my PTR. Give me a second.
You saw a post for me? He says you saw a post for me.
No, I was in Barnes and Noble. I saw a book that's specifically for you.
For me? Okay, let's see what it is. You
know they don't have any books in
Let's see what it is. Nathan can't even read, so I don't know why he's lying. Chaos next? Or Violet? Did you want to say something, Violet?
Yeah, I want to see what book,
Monica, did you want to say something?
Fascinated. I think we should all guess. I think there's a philosophy book on hood wisdom called Book of Nigalations.
Book of Nigalations. You need to chill, Monica.
I bought it.
Yo, that is perfect, Nathan.
Science. The totally scientific examination of Nathan's culture, myths, and stereotypes. Very interesting.
My book is better, but okay.
Now, the real question is, why was Nathan looking for this section? You said what, Monica?
Said that King Solomon's goal is to make us all slaves?
Good question.
Yeah, so you know my running joke, Monica. My running joke is that everyone's going to be my slave on my AI plantation. And it's simply, so what it's supposed to illustrate, Monica, is the asymmetrical opportunity that most people, not I.O., but most people are missing when it comes to AI. So there are folks like I.O. and myself that realize it, and so we're doing something about it. So it's very similar, Monica, to, because you know I'm class of 2011 as a Bitcoiner, so I'm a very early discoverer of that monetary system, and so this is very similar. These conversations that I have around AI, where there's only a few people who really get it or are proponents of it, it's very similar to my conversations in 2012 to around 14 with Bitcoin. So.
Have you ever cashed out? Ever withdrew any money from Bitcoin?
I'm waiting for the price to go to 1.5 to around 2 million, because then I'll be around like a billionaire at that price point. So that's when I'll do some cashing out.
Not yet. Okay.
No, not yet.
So when you cash out,
I did have another point.
Are you planning on paying the state and federal taxes For that billion.
So hopefully by then, Lion, given what Trump and how the United States is moving, there won't be Lion, I'm hoping there will be no reason to cash out, right? I can just borrow against the assets and just live that way. So there will be no reason to cash out. I can just use it like a mortgage, or because there'll be enough financial instruments around it to where, hey, I can just get cash flow by borrowing against it or doing something of that sort. We already see those tools now. So.
Yeah, I sent the PDF version of it.
Well, it's
there you go, spreading the gospel. Nathan, you always spread the rainbow gospel, bro. That's your favorite gospel, bro. I'm telling you, you love these rainbow niggas, man.
I do have a sincere question, because you know, Solomon, I don't use the black slur. I don't call people racial epithets.
I know.
You know, being
my bad. Go ahead.
Well, Cedric said the Galatians is the same thing and Negro is the same thing, and I'm like, it's not.
Cedric said
I was trying to steer this conversation into money, finance.
I'm sorry, Solomon, this instant chat can go back to what Lion was.
That's what's going on.
So that's an interesting question.
I don't know. Galatians one sounds like you're.
What's up,
best thing you came up with today is the
my girl, Pocket. What's up, Pocket?
What's that?
Nigga, shut up.
Bro, I was shocked saying this.
Why are you telling me to shut up, Ryan?
The Nigerians made it.
I was talking.
Oh, Solomon was about to answer my question, Lion, and then we can go back to finance.
Nathan just said that I was boring, and I said the best thing that he came up with within the last hour was a gay book for you. Then I said, nigga, shut up.
I see. Well, and Lion, I'd love to hear what you have to say about it.
Yeah, I'll get on this really quickly. I was waiting until the riffraff died down. The best thing I could be used for would be the medical. Imagine you wear a ring like mine every time. All right, how about now?
Yeah, you're good.
Imagine wearing a wedding ring over your index finger.
Yeah.
Keep that on every day, right? And what this does is it is kind of like a dialysis for your car. Do you remember like plugging in something in your car?
Yeah.
A dialysis machine. And then
a diagnostic run?
But whatever you're going on, maybe you'll
okay.
Yeah.
Is he in the Matrix only for me?
It's pretty bad.
You're in the Matrix a little bit, Lion, but you're talking about diagnostics.
Right. Now imagine you put this on every day, you keep it on all day around like a ring. And it tells you whenever you're low on certain minerals.
That's literally my sensor, Lion. So.
Oh, they have one like that. They have a health alert ring like that.
Not even a health alert ring, Lion. There's this thing where you press, right, and it draws your blood, and it tells you information like that already.
Yeah, we don't need to draw your blood.
Diabetes.
There's sensors that you don't need your blood anymore.
I'm just saying, they have something. My point is, they have something like that.
Yeah, but it's not continuous monitoring. Lion is talking about continuous monitoring.
Right, continuous, and also the other part about it is it will actually suggest proper foods that you're going to need to rebuild the mineral deficiency that you had, lost over whatever period of time. So every morning, you just, you have your ring on. It tells you that, hey, you're low on potassium. So you need to, and it also tell you, hey, listen, I suggest.
How would it be able to determine this just from the ring alone?
It would be maybe radio frequency
through
your local tablet or computer or something.
It's a radio frequency that you wear.
They're just injecting this type of technology already inside of your body.
Come on, Pop.
So you have the technology in your body?
Yeah, it's
technology in your
like nanochips. They're injecting it.
I don't know anything where you have to inject anything in your body. But the point is that if this was possible, that we could possibly preserve life probably into the 200s.
Yeah, I've heard 150, but yeah, there's pretty much no limit if you can reduce all the stresses and things like that. And here's the hope with our technology, and part of the reason why we got funded was, hey, if there's a signature, radio frequency signature for the molecules, and there's a radio frequency signature for when the bacteria is active versus it's dormant, then maybe we can program matter. So maybe in some future, you just say like, oh, look, I'm low on potassium. Okay, so then it sends a bunch of signals into your body, not just measuring the ones from. And that's exciting work being done by Dr. Michael Levin's lab. In fact, their most recent work shows that you can reverse cancers just using these kind of software programs that are not necessarily only correlated to the genes. It's like software that runs on the genes, the signals that oscillate on them. That's something that we had previously missed. That seems to be a big part of the picture. So.
Safe travels, Io, when you go to your convention. Best of luck, too.
Yeah, thanks. I'm meeting an investor there, and if anyone's going to be in Detroit, 12th to the 15th, probably meet up or say hi or whatever. Have good.
Good luck. Mark. I don't know.
Nathan, back to Nathan and his gay science book. Nathan, were you really thinking of Solomon when you took that picture?
You know Nathan is a
yes,
faggot.
I was like, yo, I'm
Nathan
looking
is a
at
faggot. You know he was
Hella sus.
Listen, I went and I looked right in the young adult section. And you know, they have their fantasy books and everything like that. Then I went by the manga section. I was looking at the manga. Bro, they have the complete Attack on Titans over there, bro. I was like, oh shit. And I went down to another aisle. And the first thing I see, I was like, oh shit, King. And I looked, and I was like, oh, gay science, oh shit. Let me go take a picture of this for King. But I tell you what book I saw what was for me.
Monica, that don't sound suspect to you?
This was a book where I saw what I was like, I'm definitely gonna get this book. This one.
Monica, that don't sound suspect, Monica?
It sounds like he's attracted to the man on the cover. It sounds.
I saw this
like
one and I was like, I need it.
And his microscope and all the paraphernalia.
This was the book what I was interested in.
Oh, come on, Nathan. You know that wasn't even. That's something.
Yeah, I was like, hold on, look at this. I